Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the WIT podcast. This is an episode in our special series that we're promoting and sharing with all of you with the meeting the finalists for the South by Southwest EDU Student Starter Competition powered by WIT. I know I keep saying this, it's such a mouthful, but it's what it is. And you're getting a chance to meet the people who applied for the competition, then actually made it to the finals. And these are shorter episodes, just so you can get a sneak peek of who's heading to Austin and also learn about other entrepreneurs around the world. So we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. I'm your host, Sarah Hernholm, founder of WIT, Whatever It Takes. And we have two founders with us today. So I'm going to turn it over to them and have them introduce themselves. Go ahead. Tell us who you are.
So my name is Gregerson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Accordia Power.
And I'm Ryan Beakley. I'm the designer of Accordia Power.
Okay. And where do you both live?
In Austin, Texas.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
And I'm 17 as well.
Okay. And we start our podcast with like just a quick round of questions for people to have a chance to kind of get to know a side of you before we jump into the business. So tell us, what do you do when you're not working on your business?
So I'm actually a pilot in training. So I fly airplanes and I also scuba dive and golf for fun.
Okay.
I'm not quite that interesting.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Tell us what you like to do.
I have a couple hobbies. I like mountain biking. I like wiring up sound systems for cars. And also I like playing volleyball with my friends.
Okay. You need to speak up a little bit more because I'm having a hard time hearing you, which means our guests are going to have a hard time hearing you. So get close. I know it's kind of hard because you're both like in the same screen, but you want to speak up because you don't have mics. So we want to make sure that we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know a little about your hobbies. And how old were you when you launched your first business, or is this your first business?
So I was like 11 when I started my first business. I had a business watching dogs. So it all kind of started with like my mom's friends when they were going out of town. I'd watch their dogs for, $15 a day. So it kind of started there. And I learned a lot from that. And then I started a lawn mowing business when I was 15 and kind of turned into this now. So
that makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Business for me. I've done a couple things to get money. I've watched pets over like breaks for a couple people, but it's never been like a business. This is my first business deal.
Increase that volume. I can't hear you. So you're going to have to like, maybe even pretend that you're like yelling into it, but you got to project into your podcast experience so that we can hear you. It's just a voice thing because my friend on the left, I can hear you. My friend on the right, you're like swallowing your words. This happens. It's like, because people aren't always used to like having to talk as loudly and about themselves as much. So, but I want people to hear you and get excited about who you are and what you do as your business. So those first businesses, right? Like I had a babysitting company in quotes, like I was pocketing money. I wasn't paying taxes on any of that. And I remember like if there were people in my neighborhood that needed weeding in their yards, like I would go off and I would do that and I would get paid to do that. I think those first jobs are really important. Eventually I went on and worked at cafes and things like that. But I almost, it's going to sound kind of weird, but I feel sorry for the people that don't have those kinds of jobs growing up. And if your first experience is like in college, having a job, or after college, like you miss out on all the lessons that you get to learn pretty young, where there's not a whole lot at stake, where like, if you come late and you get in trouble, like you're learning all these things and like, you kind of learn how you want to be and you develop your work ethics. So I never want to brush aside those jobs, those like pet jobs, those dog walking jobs, those babysitting jobs, because I think they're really important and they lead us into the kind of businesses, how we work in our businesses when we eventually launch our own companies. So let's talk about your current company. What's the name of it?
It's Accordia Power.
Accordia Power. And tell us the problem that you're solving with your business.
So with Accordia, what we're trying to do is replace the extension cord. Essentially, we want to provide a wireless experience for all the wired tools. The idea started, he has his lawn care business and he has wired tools such as like a hedge trimmer or something. and like a leaf blower. So that kind of stuff where you're walking, you're out far from the house and you're yanking that extension cord out of the wall all the time. Extension cords will get tangled, they'll get yanked out of the wall. They're just never convenient. And wireless is all around better. But the problem with going wireless with tools nowadays is that you have to buy a proprietary, like Ryobi's weed whacker, along with their lawnmower and their battery and their charging system. And so we're trying to replace that with a cheaper alternative with the same wireless convenience.
Okay, let's swap out cheaper with less expensive.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I like to tell people, because people will pitch to me like it's cheaper. I'm like, nah, just say it's less expensive.
Right.
Cheaper makes me worry that if it's made well, so it's made,
right.
Your invention is going to be solid. It's just going to be less expensive and more accessible to people, right?
Exactly.
That maybe the things right now that are on the market are really hard for people to actually afford and get access to. So that's the problem that you're solving. And so where are you in the stage of your business? Like what's the latest, a progress update?
So currently right now I'm in product development. I designed an inverter because you need to go from there's two types of electricity, DC and AC, and you need to go between each of them, which is the job of the inverter. I designed our inverter because it allows me to change what shape it is, which will help me integrate it into a backpack, and it'll also help me cut weight. Which is obviously going to be important for the backpack. So right now I've bought and assembled the first inverter, and I'm working on changes for the second version of the inverter, all with the goal to have our product working and ready by the competition.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, where do you want the business to be in 3 months or maybe 2.5 months from now?
So we want to go to that competition, and we want to be able to put a working product down in front of the pitch competition or the judges. And we know that we're pretty far away from being like ready to go to market, just because our product is something that's it's technical and it's complicated. We want to make sure that we have something that works and works well, instead of just something that was hastily thrown together and gets put out on the market and flops. We want to make sure we have something that's effective.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I would all like something that works, like something you can turn on.
Yeah.
Like we have a WIT tip, KISS, keep it super simple. How about we just make sure you can turn it on and it works?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's what we're going after.
Because there's going to be tons, we talked a lot about, there's going to be so many different iterations and pivots in a business,
Mm-hmm.
and different versions of what your product's going to be. So instead of trying to make it, this is not just directed to you, to anybody that tried to make something perfect or wait for it to be perfect before you share it with people or try to get financial support on something, you can create an MVP, a minimum viable product that you can share with people and say, like, this is where we're at right now. This is where we're going. But I think most people want to just see that people are truly invested in the development of a product and are willing to put in the time. So let's speak about that. Like, how much time are you putting into your business on a regular basis?
Well, so our time is actually worked into our curriculum. So we have a program at our school, at our high school, called Incubator. And it's a 2-year program. If you make it on a year 2, that's called Accelerator. And in Accelerator, what we do is we work in sprints. So we have little 2-week segments where, our class time is devoted to actually working on our business. So that, in a period of 2 weeks, just in class time, like during school, that can range anywhere from 8 to 15 hours working. And then that's not including the time we're spending outside of school. Which
that's what I was curious about. What's the time that you're spending outside of school?
I'm sorry?
What's the time that you're spending outside of school?
I mean, it's going to vary for, our jobs. For me, I can get most of the stuff done I need to in class, but for him, he's in charge of designing it. So he does a lot of the stuff in his garage. So I'm sure his number is very different than mine, but I'd say per week, I'm spending 3 or 4 hours, like working on things on my PC at home. What would you say?
Yeah, I'd say at least 3 to 4 hours, something similar like that, especially if I'm in this process right now where I'm soldering components onto the board right now. It all has to be done at home. I can't really do as much in school.
I think it's just good to let people know, like the listener, the viewer know the kind of time that's needed and the time that's spent. And so if someone were to tell me, I mean, it sounds like you've got a couple hours, you've got, what do you say, 8 hours a week in school already built in, plus you're working outside of school. Like, so you're putting in between like 12 to 15 hours a week on a business. I just think that's good for people to see, because it's important to show that. And even when putting in 12 to 15 hours, there's still like a lot of progress to be made. So I think sometimes people, and this isn't just like a generational thing. I think it's just human beings in general. People kind of try to put it on your generation, but I think it's just human beings in general right now just want things really fast and really quick, and expect results really, really fast, and recognition really fast, and praise and press very fast. But there's a lot of time that goes in. That's, people don't actually see that's where like the work is getting done. Absolutely. So tell us about getting the email that you got accepted as a final. What was that? Where were you guys together? Where were you when you found out you were accepted to the challenge?
So I was on a bike ride. I was on a workout, and our CFO calls me and he's like, "Hey dude, like I have some good news." And I was like, "Oh, like what?" I mean, it's not common for him to call me, especially over break when we're kind of taking a break from school. And he's like, "We got into South by," and I didn't even believe it. I was like, "We got into South by?" Like, I hadn't checked the email yet, so I like pulled over on the side of the road and pulled out my email to make sure. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we got into South by!" I was like super happy. I texted our group chat and I was like, "Guys, like we got into South by," and the excitement was there. I mean, we're all just super stoked. I mean, this is huge for us, considering we've been working on this in class for almost 2 years. And we all have that entrepreneurial aspect in our personalities. So we were all super excited. So it was a lot of fun to get to hear.
Yeah.
Is that how you found out in the group chat, or where were you when you found out?
I was driving my mom to pick up a rental car for our road trip over the break. And I remember I actually ignored his call at first.
Yeah, I do.
I was driving and I wasn't in my truck. I was in my little brother's car. So I didn't have Apple CarPlay. So I get the call and it's just my phone in my pocket. Like, I'm not touching that. And I think I waited at least an hour, maybe 2 hours. Eventually I checked my phone and I saw, and I was just like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like, I felt bad. I actually texted him. I was like, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Call."
That's good. That makes me, it's fun for me to hear the stories of that, because I have my own experiences of finding out news. Right. And it does, it kind of like you're just doing everyday things, and you get that. You get that alert, you get that email, you get that call, and it's game changing if you really care when it comes to your business, like opportunities like that. So you do always remember where you were, and it's usually doing something pretty mundane, like nothing really, like, like just an everyday activity, and all of a sudden, just like that,
right?
It's a game changer. Well, I just want to congratulate both of you on making the finals. And I'm excited to work with you. So the listener and the viewer, just so you know, WIT kind of takes our finalists under our wing for like the next 3 months and gives them different opportunities to talk about their business, whether it's on TV or on podcasts, and gives different trainings that we're going to host where they get to connect with a CEO entrepreneur on a weekly basis that will come in and talk about different tips for pitching, and also just some tips on like business development and where you kind of want to be after 3 months with your business. We believe, I mean, my whole reason for why, maybe not my whole reason, but one of my reasons for why I really wanted WIT to be partnered with South by Southwest EDU for this competition is I believe so much in like the prep, that in the value of the prep between realizing that you make a competition or you have an opportunity, and then the day of the competition. I think there's a lot of good that can happen in the time leading up. And that's what WIT is. That's what WIT does really well. We do really well with the giving access and opportunities to young entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship education and connections with some of the best people in the biz. And so that this team will be part of that cohort going through the training and the prep. And so I'm excited to get to know both of you more. This is the first time like we've connected. As many of you know, wasn't part of choosing the finalists. That wouldn't have been a good choice because I know too many teens and I saw too many names that I knew that submitted. So I took myself out of it. So this is my first time meeting both of you. And I just, Let's end with your voice. Let's end with you giving any words of motivation to the young entrepreneur out there who's thinking that they want to start something, but they're just not quite sure if they should go for it.
Especially for someone our age right now, right? Before college, this is the lowest risk you'll have in life. You're not leaving your job to start a business. All you're sacrificing is a couple hours after school, something like that. I think the opportunity to start a business is far greater if you look at it as a rate of return. Like if you put it into a business, you get so many experiences out of that. And if you really put in your time, you really succeed, you actually get a great business, and you'll set yourself so much farther ahead in life than your peers around you.
That's true. What about you?
Well, so I have two quotes that are my favorite as far as entrepreneurship, and I'm going to kind of analyze them. The first one is, it only takes one idea to become successful. And I think that's something that motivated me a lot when, a lot of my businesses I was starting kind of flopped and fell through. I've always had the entrepreneurial personality where I like to make things work, and I like to work for myself and do things on my own time. And I had a lot of failures along the way, but I found a rhythm and found something that's worked. And it only takes one to be successful. And kind of going off what Ryan said, another thing, well, like another quote is, the biggest risk in life is not taking any. And that's one of my favorites, because it's true. Like, we only have this life that we know right here, and it's important for us to challenge ourselves and take risks to, in an effort to make our life better. And I think that's, the basis of every entrepreneur is, to try to make our lives better and to better other people's lives. And yeah, that's really it. Just if you're out there and you're thinking about starting a business, do it. I think the best experience you can get is actually being in one. Just take that big leap and try it out. So it's where everyone starts.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I everything that you say is something I really resonate with. I agree. Like, this is like the least amount of like at stake when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
You don't have a mortgage. You don't have, usually, you don't have kids. You're not like responsible for like a lot of the different expenses that people have, when you're older. And so it's the perfect time to throw yourself in where there's not as much on the line. And taking risks, it's also like, it's not that risky to try a business in high school. Like, okay, so it doesn't work. It doesn't mean like the rest of your life you're doomed, but taking a risk at 50 years old to quit your job and go start something, that's risky.
Absolutely.
I think it's more like, are you willing to the sacrifices of time when you're in high school? And if you're willing to, I think it is brave to a certain extent. I don't want to throw the word brave around too loosely. I think it's maybe it's more to be admired, the kids that are willing to say, like, I'm going to take a different path. I see my peers like spend their time doing this, or I see my peers. I mean, I know, I've had teens tell me like they can't, and the teens that I work with are very honest with me and open with me. So, I mean, I'm not naive to what teens do. So they'll be like, we can't go to this certain party, or we couldn't go to this certain thing because we had our pitch competition, or we knew that we had to get this thing ready for you, because sometimes I'll travel with teens to go do certain things. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, you're saying, I'm willing to kind of step out here and be a little bit of an outsider for my future self. That's what I always like to tell young people. It's like, do things today that your future self will thank you for. And every day you should do something that your future self will thank you for. So looking around and saying, like, have I done that thing today? And if you haven't, I encourage you to go off and do that. And I feel, it sounds like both of you are doing things that your future self will definitely thank you for. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. And I'm excited for people to follow you on your journey from, here to the stage at South by Southwest EDU. Where can our viewers and our listeners find you? Can you tell them where they can start following you?
Yeah, so we have an Instagram page at Accordia_power. That's the main one we post on, but we also have a LinkedIn profile. That's the way you can go support us. We have a GoFundMe up trying to raise some money for research and development. So we also post updates there. So yeah, that's the main spots you can find us right now.
Okay. Accordia_power.
Yep. And Accordia is spelled Accordia.
Okay. And if anybody wants to follow along on the journeys of our, like, we're going to have stuff on our WIT Instagram. So that's just doing _WIT, I think. I should know. And then on my page, Miss_WIT, and obviously on the podcast, you'll see stuff too. So we'll tag everything, promote both of you. And if you've been inspired by these young men, please, like this episode, share this episode, subscribe, all the things. As I always say, the more that we can get teens to support other teens in the entrepreneurial space, the more that adults will start paying attention to all of you. So please help spread the word about Accordia Power. And thanks for tuning in. And please like, share, subscribe this episode. Bye, everybody. Keep doing WIT.